New tonight at 10, the Montana House and Senate both endorsed the final version of a bill that would block transgender female student athletes from women and girls sports. The House voted 60-39 to approve the conference committee's report on House Bill 112, which would require high school and college athletes to compete based on their biological sex. Several minutes later, the Senate approved the changes 27-23. If this bill passes final votes in both chambers tomorrow, it will be on its way to Governor Greg Gianforte's desk. But members of the LGBTQ community say this bill and others like it are just discrimination, and they're based in hate. MTN's Katie Miller has more from community advocates about the mental health impacts they say are stemming from this legislative session.
We're seeing impacts across the board.
Shawn Reagor with the Montana Human Rights Network says the anti-trans bills in the Montana Legislature are impacting Montanans. Earlier this week, trans advocates traveled to Helena to make sure their voices were heard.
We're seeing a significant increase in crisis calls from individuals who are needing immediate mental health services. We're seeing an increase in people who are experiencing discrimination on the job and in housing.
Reagor says he's personally fielded calls for help.
Although those calls can be hard to take, the calls that I'm more concerned about are the ones that I'm not getting.
A growing worry as the legislature moves forward.
For the last 3 months now, we've been hearing in the news almost daily talk about these bills going through the legislature.
Andy Nelson says the center in Missoula is getting questions about how to get politically involved.
I think there needs to just continue to be more discussions about what the lives of these folks are like. I think that's something that's missed is a lot of folks proposing these bills. They don't know anything about the LGBTQ community.
A sentiment echoed by others.
They clearly just have no idea what they're talking about.
Izzy Milch says they are tired.
People have testified at all of these hearings trying to explain what life is like as a trans person in this state, and they're just not interested in hearing that.
They say watching the legislature, hearing what our lawmakers say, is taking a toll on their mental health.
So upsetting and traumatizing to listen to.
Milch says most people don't have what they call the dangerous attitudes of some legislators.
But when it's the people in power who are saying these things, it's not easy to listen to.
That's why organizations across the state are stepping up outreach.
And to really make sure that people know that just because these bills are moving in the state legislature doesn't mean that they represent the views of all people in the state of Montana.
Milch says that knowledge is what will keep the LGBT community strong.
Queer people, and especially trans people, have this sort of special ability to imagine realities that are better than the one that currently exists. And I think that this is no exception. And I do feel really hopeful knowing that this community exists in Montana and will continue to work towards a place where we can all feel safe living.
In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News.
Support groups for trans people are meeting regularly here in Missoula and statewide. You can contact the Center in Missoula at 406-543-2224 or get in touch with the Montana Human Rights Network, emailing paxson@mhrn.org. This information on our website.